Nights grow long, we come together under these lights. A team, united by purpose. Fans bound by passion, each holding a small flicker of hope in their hands. At SportsGrid, we believe that even the darkest nights can't dim the unity we share. One team, one stadium, one shining moment. This holiday season, we shine brighter together. Happy Hanukkah from all of us at SportsGrid.
There's a lot of bowl games. I love all of them. Even if you don't like bowl games, you gotta love the Pop-Tarts Bowl and what it means for college football.
Who doesn't get excited for Pop-Tarts? But also, this is one of those where, Ben, I guess you could put your kids through college. Miami doesn't care about bowl games. They don't ever win those. Miami's a favorite. They usually go take the Iowa State Cyclones. Miami doesn't play any defense whatsoever, so you automatically just bang the total.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
I don't like to toot my own horn, and I know that I'm setting myself up for probably disappointment later tonight, but I hope you were with us last week on the Final Five, because we almost swept the board. We had 2 out of 3 on the power play points with Reinhardt and Matthews. We hit the goal scorer line A. We hit the side with Washington. We hit the total with the over in Toronto and Buffalo. So we had a really good Final Five last week, and I'm hoping that we can now ride that wave.
Only on SportsGrid.
You basically predicted this, saying that if Texas, as expected, as nearly a 2-touchdown favorite, did beat Clemson, the odds were telling you they were only 10 cents behind Oregon entering the opening round.
I still feel that Oregon's one of the best teams in the country. You want to give me now from plus 350 to plus 480? I think it's great value. I think they match up very well against Ohio State.
College football today. Only on SportsGrid.
Good morning and welcome to NewsWire and Happy New Year, our first show of the new year here in 2025 on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish back with you once again as we have plenty to cover here on the show. College bowl season, of course, underway, college football playoffs underway, and those actually continue today under some extremely unfortunate circumstances, which we will discuss. Also, Brady Kannon will join us here on the show. Also, a special guest in studio, Austin Richardson of Pro Bull Riding. We'll talk about the big event going on in Madison Square Garden coming up this weekend as well. And also breaking down the latest in the National Football League. All the playoff scenarios are here, and we'll get to as many as we possibly can here on the show. So stay with us here on the grid for the full hour as we're back with you once again here in 2025. But an unfortunate circumstance, and the only thing that we could define this as is just a humongous tragedy in New Orleans as the Peach Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, has had to be moved to today at 4 o'clock Eastern due to the killings of over 15 people in New Orleans. The game was supposed to be played last night, and out of precaution, they decided to move it today. This is a tragedy of epic proportions here in this country, naturally, and they're still investigating this both in New Orleans and in Houston, Texas. But needless to say, our show that covers sports and sporting events needs to keep you informed as to what's going on with this game because it did affect the start. Now, the game initially was postponed 24 hours out of caution. They've decided to now move the game up to 4 p.m. Eastern. So Georgia-Notre Dame kick today will be 4 o'clock Eastern at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. The CEO of the Sugar Bowl, Jeff Hundley, talked about the tragedy in Louisiana.
Good afternoon. Obviously, we wish we weren't here for this reason today. The Sugar Bowl Committee has a 90-year history of being a good corporate citizen for the city of New Orleans, and that's why this tragedy hurts us as much as anybody right now. So our condolences, thoughts, and prayers go out to the victims and their families as we all work through this. Of course, anytime we have a major event in the city of New Orleans, public safety is paramount, and we have full governor and the mayor and all the assets, the federal, state, and local resources that they've applied to this event so that we can ultimately bring those responsible to justice and carry on with the major events that we have in front of us. Speaking of which, we were scheduled this evening to have a CFP quarterfinal played in the Superdome at 7:45. We have been in consultation with ESPN, with the College Football Playoff, with the Southeastern Conference, with the University of Georgia, with Notre Dame, all parties, and all agree that it's in the best interest of everybody and public safety that we postpone the game for 24 hours.
Scott Farrell, Coast to Coast, has you covered during the game today. He's on at 3 p.m. Eastern. Meanwhile, the point spread has moved in favor of Notre Dame. Georgia, once a 1-point favorite, now a 1.5-point dog. Total of 45.5, 4 o'clock Eastern later today. Also, last night in college football, one of the best games we've seen all bowl season, and there have been a lot of them. Texas ends up beating Arizona State in overtime, 39-31, and a wild game that the Longhorns led basically from the start until the fourth quarter. In fact, they led by 2 touchdowns, but Arizona State just fought their way all the way back to this one and almost won a couple of different occasions. Here's Steve Sarkisian as they head to the next round of the college football playoff.
As far as our guys go today, not our cleanest game of the year. Then that's okay to say that. But the one thing that I know about our group is when our backs are against the wall and when our best is needed, our best shows up time and time again. And the resiliency that these guys showed today was something that as a coach makes you really proud. You know that we weren't at our best, and it felt like a NCAA March Madness basketball game with the swings of emotions and things. But 4th and 15 in overtime to score, to come right back and score again, 2-point conversion, and then a great play by Andrew Makuba. Just proud of these guys because you not every game is going to be pretty, and not every game is just going to go exactly how you want it to go. And there's going to be plenty of stuff that we're going to look at this tape and say we got to do better and be better. But the one thing I won't have to say is that our toughness and our fight doesn't need to be better. And if there's one thing that you want as a calling card for your team is just that. And so I think it's a tribute to these guys up here and their leadership and the culture that we have and their ability to stay calm through the storm and execute when, like I said, when our best was needed.
And meanwhile, Arizona State as a near 14-point underdog almost pulled off the upset of the bowl season. Kenny Dillingham, who just got a new contract extension with Arizona State, said nothing to be ashamed about.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the best teams in the country, if not the best team in the country we faced today. We started off not so great, and the way the guys battled back is remarkable. Like I told them, if they could rewind in the locker room, I hate to lose more than anybody. But now that it's over, when you can reflect, and where these guys have come is an incredible testament to the team. But golly, that one sucks.
Indeed, a great season for ASU this year. Nothing to be hanging their heads about, that's for sure. All right, Ohio State wins 41-21 last night in the Rose Bowl. This wasn't much of a game. They beat Oregon and led this game by 4 touchdowns. Like, as soon as you turned the TV on yesterday, they just completely dominated this game from start to finish. Oregon scored some late touchdowns to, in fact, push this over the game total. But Ryan Day, a few weeks ago had lost to Michigan, and they were calling for his head. Now, all of a sudden, he's 1 win away from the national championship.
Well, in this game, there are ups and downs along the way. And, when things are going good, you got to hug the guys you love the most. And when things aren't, you got to hug them even harder. And you just hang in there and you keep swinging. And, I talked to these guys about it a couple weeks ago. That's life. And this team is resilient. And when you surround yourself with great people, with great character, you find yourself working through difficult times. And at the end of the day, we wanted to win a national championship. And the way that we got here wasn't what we expected. It wasn't what we planned for. But nonetheless, we had an opportunity to come back and play Oregon after we'd already played them early in the season. And that's the only thing that mattered. And the guys have been doing a great job of staying focused. The staff has stuck together, but the players have stuck together. And they're fighting to continue to stay together because, the winner gets to play together another week, the loser doesn't. So, those guys have worked hard to stay together and now we got an opportunity to go play Texas, and a lot of football ahead of us.
So the winner of today's Georgia versus Notre Dame game will play Penn State as the Nittany Lions beat Boise State 31-14 in a game that was not relatively close, although Boise did have their opportunities to cover the spread several times. Unfortunately for Boise backers, they did not. The biggest bowl upset of them all was Michigan upsetting Alabama 19-13. They were up to 15.5-point favorites in this game where Michigan dominated on defense from start to finish. In case you missed the squabble yesterday, Illinois ends up winning 21-17 in the Citrus Bowl over South Carolina, and Brett Bielema, the head coach of the Illini, mocked South Carolina sideline, making the substitution sign. It was a trick play in the game. They were fighting on social media about it. If you want to go check it out, it's pretty funny. Also, Miami, the Hurricanes, fired their defensive coordinator, Lance Guidry, after they basically couldn't stop anybody all season long. One other bowl game tonight, 7:30 Eastern. Ole Miss now up to 17.5-point favorites. They take on Duke tonight at the Gator Bowl. In the NFL, Jair Alexander going to miss the remainder of the season, including the playoffs for the Green Bay Packers. The Rams have a game this coming weekend against the Seattle Seahawks. That means nothing to them, so they're going to be sitting their starters, including Matthew Stafford. Saquon Barkley's chase for the all-time rushing record is over. He's not going to play for the Eagles this weekend, and it looks like the Miami Dolphins will be starting Tyler Huntley in their game this weekend against the Jets. We'll be back with more NewsWire after this.
There's a lot of bowl games. I love all of them. Even if you don't like bowl games, you got to love the Pop-Tarts Bowl and what it means for college football.
Who doesn't get excited for Pop-Tarts? But also, this is one of those where, Ben, I guess you could put your kids through college. Miami doesn't care about bowl games. They don't ever win those. Miami's a favorite. They usually go take the Iowa State Cyclones. Miami doesn't play any defense whatsoever, so you automatically just bang the total.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
50 points in a fourth quarter for the Atlanta Hawks. Like, what is going on? It's like circus numbers. What are we doing?
And we sound like two old heads complaining. It's a tough watch. It's a tough watch sometimes. I don't mind the shooting. I just know the numbers. Like, when you strictly look at it from the numbers in betting, it's getting really hard to bet.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
You basically predicted this, saying that if Texas, as expected, as nearly a 2-touchdown favorite, did beat Clemson, the odds were telling you they were only 10 cents behind Oregon entering the opening round.
I still feel that Oregon's one of the best teams in the country. You want to give me now from plus 350 to plus 480? I think it's great value. I think they match up very well against Ohio State.
College football today. Only on SportsGrid.
I don't like to toot my own horn, and I know that I'm setting myself up for probably disappointment later tonight, but I hope you were with us last week on the Final Five, because we almost swept the board. We had 2 out of 3 on the power play points with Reinhardt and Matthews. We hit the goal scorer line A. We hit the side with Washington. We hit the total with the over in Toronto and Buffalo. So we had a really good Final Five last week, and I'm hoping that we can now ride that wave.
Only on SportsGrid.
Let's talk some college football. Bill Bender joins us courtesy of Sporting News. We're almost down to the Final Four in college football. If not for the tragedy last night in New Orleans, we would have the Final Four, but now we have to, certainly wait, and for good reason, on this game today that's going to start at 4 o'clock Eastern at the Sugar Bowl. Bill, good afternoon. Happy New Year to you. Thanks for coming on. So let's talk about the game specifically here. The point spread, as time has gone on, is flipping and flipping and flipping some more. And I do wonder by 4 o'clock Eastern if the Irish are going to be up to 2 or 2.5 point favorites. Georgia opened up as a favorite, 1.5. Irish now 1.5. I'm not really sure why, by the way. Total of 45.5. I've been able to read some of these lines as we've gone, and they've made sense to me, but this one really does not. Do you think, Bill, it's because the SEC has looked so poor in the bowl season? Is that potentially why? Because I'm not understanding why this line just wasn't set at Pick'em.
Yeah, I mean, you would think, because at this point it just looks like they don't trust Georgia with Gunnar Stockton at quarterback. So to me, when I watched that SEC championship game, their offense was still functional. They were actually running the ball a little bit better, and I'm wondering how they will attack that Notre Dame defense on the interior with Riley Mills. I picked Georgia to win this game. The extra day, and obviously we had tragedy, and we'll see how these teams respond to that. I mean, these are 18 to 22-year-old kids. That was an incredibly scary day, I'm sure, for all of them yesterday, and we'll see how they respond when they get out on the field. But I still picked the Bulldogs to win. I'm feeling that Kirby Smart, everybody against us type game that they've had a couple times this year, and I think they come out in the Sugar Bowl and win a close defensive struggle.
Yeah, I do too. And again, we'll see if Notre Dame can win, then they buck the trend of the last decade or so of losing when they've gotten to these big points. So we will see. Okay, so Texas, Arizona State. I would say it was the best bowl game of the season, but that's really not accurate. This has been the most insane college football bowl season, Bill, I can recall in a long time. Overtime after overtime after overtime, and this was another one yesterday. But I suppose because the game was that big and the circumstance as to how Arizona State came back to end up tying Texas and taking this to overtime is maybe the reason why that is the case. What do you make of that game yesterday between Texas and Arizona State? I thought, to me, Arizona State's performance in a loss was the best of any team I saw this bowl season.
I mean, how can you not think of the effort that Cam Scadaboo put in yesterday? What an all-around effort, throwing the football, catching the football, running the football, willing that Arizona State team into an overtime battle in a game that, quite frankly, early looked like the next ready-made blowout in this playoff. I think Texas's inconsistency with running the football is going to catch up with them in the next round. They weren't able to run the football against Arizona State or Georgia this year, and when that happens, they will make mistakes. I do like that Texas defense, and it was an entertaining setup that has made up for the rest of the college football playoff games, quite frankly, which haven't been competitive.
Yeah, and I would say that, look, I don't think, first of all, Cam Scadaboo, I watched the whole game, okay? Rare to see that sort of performance from any player in college football in a regular season game, let alone a playoff game. And it's not going to make him a top 5 pick in the draft. I get that, or top 10, or maybe even first round. But there's no question that nobody helped himself with a bowl performance more than that player did going into NFL draft season. Also a controversial call in the game, too, potentially that could have led to the outcome in terms of a targeting. But generally speaking, let's not let that overshadow the game itself. But I understand the reason that was a big part of the end of the game. Now, as far as Ohio State is concerned, Bill, I mean, you've been championing them for the majority of the season. So, I mean, this looks like the right call here. They've looked the best of any team at this point in the year. How they responded after that loss to Michigan is truly amazing. This Jeremiah Smith is unstoppable. 7 catches, 187 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. He would have had 400 yards if it really meant anything, I think. But, I mean, I got to make them the favorite. I haven't looked at FanDuel this morning, but I'm guessing they're the favorite to win it all right now.
Well, they should be, and they've got the best player in the playoff. Jay, it's amazing to me that a freshman is the best player in this playoff with Jeremiah Smith. He looks like Terrell Owens or Julio Jones or whoever you want to say. He's been incredible. But I think it's their defense, too. Yesterday, their defense, 8 sacks, coming up with the big plays at every opportune time in this game. And if that continues, they're not going to lose. And I think this Texas game will be a test for them. Texas does have a really good defense. Will Howard has to continue playing the way that he does. But, I mean, Craig, they're knocking people out in the first quarter. That Oregon game was over in the first quarter, which was absolutely stunning to me.
Yeah. And honestly, when you saw the Penn State game and Boise State game play out, it was really never in doubt in terms of the outcome. The point spread, I think, was. You and I both took Boise State in that game, and I don't feel terrible about it, by the way, because I think had Genty, broken one run, or at the end of the game, Penn State hadn't run right through them, then maybe the Broncos would have covered. But in the end, Penn State wins. I don't know, Bill. I kind of feel like, to me, the winner of today's game is going to move on to the championship between even if it is Notre Dame against Georgia. Look, Penn State, they were great. It takes nothing away from them, but that's my one quandary here. Is it just appeared that the Nittany Lions were much better than Boise State going in and coming out of the game.
Yeah, they had the easiest path, which has been talked about, to be able to go through SMU and Boise State, but they went through the path. It would have been very easy to pounce on James Franklin and this team had they lost one of those games. But the ability to run the football, I've been very impressed with Penn State's offensive line in these last two games. I mean, they could have just handed the ball to Katron Allen and Nick Singleton and been fine here. And you got to give props to Ashton Genty. There was that one play that went viral where he ran through like 6 guys. He's going to have a great NFL future. But at the end of the day, Penn State goes to the semifinals, will probably be a 4 to 5 point underdog, depending on who wins today. And I still think they're dangerous because if that offensive line plays well, but keep an eye on the health of Abdul Carter. They lost him in that game. If they don't have him against Georgia or Notre Dame, that's going to make that job that much more difficult.
Yeah, I saw him post something this morning on social media. It seems like he's okay, but who really knows? Bill, because of this tragedy, we just got to call it how it is. I mean, Penn State is going to have, it looks like, a lot of extra time to prepare for this game as opposed to the winner tonight. Do you sense that they may move this game again? I know it's supposed to be played here in South Florida next Thursday.
I think they should bump him back a night just to be fair. And I mean, this is unforeseen circumstances that nobody can plan for, but that is something to watch over the next couple of days.
All right, Bill, thanks again for coming on. Happy New Year.
Hey, Happy New Year. Thank you.
Austin Richardson's up next with us. Don't go away.
There's a lot of bowl games. I love all of them. Even if you don't like bowl games, you got to love the Pop-Tarts Bowl and what it means for college football.
Who doesn't get excited for Pop-Tarts? But also, this is one of those where, Ben, I guess you could put your kids through college. Miami doesn't care about bowl games. They don't ever win those. Miami's a favorite. They usually go take the Iowa State Cyclones. Miami doesn't play any defense whatsoever, so you automatically just bang the total.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
50 points in a fourth quarter for your Atlanta Hawks. Like, what is going on? It's like circus numbers. What are we doing?
And we sound like two old heads complaining. It's a tough watch. It's a tough watch sometimes. I don't mind the shooting. I just know the numbers. Like, when you strictly look at it from the numbers in betting, it's getting really hard to bet.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
You basically predicted this, saying that if Texas, as expected, as nearly a 2-touchdown favorite, did beat Clemson, the odds were telling you they were only 10 cents behind Oregon entering the opening round.
I still feel that Oregon's one of the best teams in the country. You want to give me now from plus 350 to plus 480? I think it's great value. I think they match up very well against Ohio State.
College football today. Only on SportsGrid.
I don't like to toot my own horn, and I know that I'm setting myself up for probably disappointment later tonight, but I hope you were with us last week on the Final Five because we almost swept the board. We had 2 out of 3 on the power play points with Reinhardt and Matthews. We hit the goal scorer line A. We hit the side with Washington. We hit the total with the over in Toronto and Buffalo. So we had a really good Final Five last week, and I'm hoping that we can now ride that wave.
Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We cover it all for you here on the show. And today, a very special guest in our studios in New York City, in Manhattan. We've got Austin Richardson in the house. They have a big event coming up this weekend, Pro Bull Riding. It's one of the most popular events in the country. And let's check out Austin here before we get to this interview. Check it out.
It ain't even really one thing specific. There's just a couple of things that's cost him in a few different rides. Like here he's moving. Move that outside foot.
He makes the 8 seconds. Oh!
but then pays a price twice. Gets a shot to the helmet and then gets a shot to the lower extremities.
And he's tough. I'm glad to see he got up and was able to put weight on those legs. That bull come down the back of his legs. That could have been season ending right there, but he's up, at least he's walking.
Out almost immediately. Here's another look at the ride, which was worth 87 3/4.
You see him get it back just a little bit, but then he kicks loose that outside foot. He catches up good. Bull jumps out of it. He did the same thing with Cole Melanson last night to buck him off. Then when he goes to get off, his hand doesn't come out. Oh. Jacks him out over that front end and then comes down on him right there on the pocket.
Yeah, Austin, I'm in pain just watching that, but welcome to the show. I mean, just watching it is painful. Now, listen, I didn't pick the video for the show, just so you know. My producer, Frank, did. I would have preferred you doing the gritty like Joe Burrow.
Right.
We'll get to that here in a minute. I would have preferred that one. But that one, I mean, does that bring back good memories, bad memories? I don't know. You'll have to tell me.
Yeah, I don't really like watching myself get hurt sometimes, but no, I rode that bull. It was a lot of good memories there. It was when I was a little younger, but I gathered a lot of information about that ride because that bull didn't stay in it and stuff like that. It's a hard bull to ride, and sure enough, he did step on me there at the end, but I was all fine and good after that.
Yeah, and I think that what people don't realize in pro bull riding is the risk that you guys take every single time that you guys are out there. I know you found that out the hard way earlier in 2024.
Yep. I mean, just every time we nod our head, we just know it could be our last breath, but I wouldn't change it for nothing. I love the sport, and I've been doing it since I was a kid, and I'm okay with that.
All right, so let's kind of talk about the big event that's going on this weekend for people who are in New York City or headed there. It's over at Madison Square Garden. Tell us more about the event and what we can expect.
Yeah, it's going to be Friday through Sunday. It's a great event. It's a major. A lot of points, a lot of money for the riders leading up to the World Finals. It's one of the most exciting events that I think personally. The crowd's insane. The energy, the bulls. It's the best bulls in the world. If I was a fan, I'd want to come watch this one for sure. It's just going to be great.
Yeah, so check it out this weekend in Madison Square Garden. For those who are unfamiliar with Austin, as you know, again, this is the first time I'm meeting him here on the show. 2022. Let's go back to that. You were a second round draft pick, and you were on the Austin Gamblers, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
You had a nice year in 2023, and then you were traded to another team. So how did that end up happening?
Yeah, I just got swapped to a different team. They had a few different riders they wanted, and I went to a great team with the Wildcatters, and then honestly just got traded again just not too long ago to the Nashville Stampede, and I'm really excited about that. Work with Justin McBride, the head coach. I mean, he's the two-time world champion. I'm really excited about joining the Nashville Stampede for sure.
All right, so your most recent success, there's no question, because I saw it on social media. You modeled your celebration off the bull with Joe Burrow. So that must tell me that you're some sort of football fan here doing the gritty. Is that true, or did you come up with this on your own and they're just posting that with you?
I've seen it a few times on TikTok and stuff like that, and I was like, sure enough, I should do that. But no, I have seen a bunch of football players do it, and I love watching football. And that was a pretty cool video that the PBR posted with me and the football guy hitting the gritty.
All right. So before we let you go this weekend, of course, we got lots of great football going on. Austin, who is your favorite college or pro football team? And who do you think at this point has the best shot to get? I can't keep watching that video. I'm in pain watching this, Austin. Who is the best shot that you think is to get to the Super Bowl this year?
Oh, I love to root the Cowboys because I'm right there in Dallas, but they're disappointing. But no, I don't know. I don't watch it that enough to pay attention, but I think my favorite team overall in college is the Texas Longhorns for sure.
All right. Well, they're still very much alive after their win over Arizona State. You can pick up tickets this weekend online and catch Austin and all of the pro riders this weekend at Madison Square Garden. What a great event it's going to be. And I wish you all the best, Austin, and the best of health, too. Be careful out there.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Be right back.
There's a lot of bowl games. I love all of them. Even if you don't like bowl games, you got to love the Pop-Tarts Bowl and what it means for college football.
Who doesn't get excited for Pop-Tarts? But also, this is one of those where, Ben, I guess you could put your kids through college. Miami doesn't care about bowl games. They don't ever win those. Miami's a favorite. They usually go take the Iowa State Cyclone. Miami doesn't play any defense whatsoever, so you automatically just bang the total.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
50 points in a fourth quarter for the Atlanta Hawks. Like, what is going on? It's like circus numbers. What are we doing?
And we sound like two old heads complaining. It's a tough watch. It's a tough watch sometimes. I don't mind the shooting. I just know the numbers. Like, when you strictly look at it from the numbers in betting, it's getting really hard to bet.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
You basically predicted this, saying that if Texas, as expected, as nearly a 2-touchdown favorite, did beat Clemson, the odds were telling you they were only 10 cents behind Oregon entering the opening round.
I still feel that Oregon's one of the best teams in the country. You want to give me now from plus 350 to plus 480? I think it's great value. I think they match up very well against Ohio State.
College football today. Only on SportsGrid.
I don't like to toot my own horn, and I know that I'm setting myself up for probably disappointment later tonight, but I hope you were with us last week on the Final Five, because we almost swept the board. We had 2 out of 3 on the power play points with Reinhardt and Matthews. We hit the goal scorer line A. We hit the side with Washington. We hit the total with the over in Toronto and Buffalo. So we had a really good Final Five last week, and I'm hoping that we can now ride that wave.
Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. We got Dexter Henry from the New York Post. We'll take a look at some of the big games in the National Basketball Association. And Dexter, great to have you back here on the show as we're winding down here with college football and pro football and naturally the NBA and college basketball taking over. Happy New Year. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me, Craig. Happy New Year to you as well. You're right. Exciting time for basketball indeed.
All right, so let's get into it here a little bit and talk about this winning streak here. The Oklahoma City Thunder, not a surprise, having one of the best seasons in the NBA of any team. They're one of the teams predicted potentially to win the NBA championship. What has been the difference maker for them this year to really take them over the top? I know they were really good last year too, but this is the big watermark, I think, for them.
Yeah, I think it's just continuity, right? When you have that continuity, Craig, you've been playing together for a while, and then you see certain players start to elevate their game. Jalen Williams has taken a leap in his game again, and then Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with his leadership. I mean, he's been the driving force behind this 12-game winning streak, averaging over 32 points per game during this 12-game winning streak, and they have just been really strong time and time again. So you got to be really impressed with what they've been doing so far. They have a chance to push their winning streak to 12 tonight, but they've been really good so far. And it's really led by SGA, who right now you got to think is either 1 or 2 in the front runner for MVP right now. But this team is so good defensively. That's the key thing with OKC. They're really so good defensively. They're great offensively as well. They can really spread that floor. And they doing most of this without Chet Holmgren. So it's scary to think how good they can be when he comes back, Craig. But the team is so good defensively. They can get stops. And right now they're just led by their MVP, and he's been tremendous for them so far.
All right. So, the other team that's, red hot, the New York Knicks, let's break down what's been going on with them. A 9-game winning streak. Karl Anthony Towns has been fantastic. Last night they beat the Utah Jazz, 119-103. You talk about a player who's made an impact with the team this year. This guy is it. 31 points, 21 rebounds, 3 3-pointers. And, the Knicks had one weapon last year, and now they have more than one for sure. They definitely have 2. Do you think that they even add a player here? Dare I say, look, the Knicks are still going to have to go through Boston and some other teams. We understand that. But they're going to be a dangerous team if this continues.
Yeah, they are. You asked about could they add another player, Craig. I think that's going to be very much the talk over the next 5 weeks or so as we approach the trade deadline. Can they shore up their depth? That's the one thing you have a question about with the New York Knicks right now. are they deep enough? They won the game last night without Jalen Brunson, their best player. They also won without Deuce McBride, who didn't play in that one. But the Knicks do have a lot of weapons, as you mentioned. They are really skilled offensively, second in the league in offensive rating. And the thing that's really improved for them in the month of December, where they went 12-2, is defense. Defensive rating went up. Started the month, they were 22nd. Now they're around 12th to 13th. That is the key for them. Can they improve defensively? When they get Mitchell Robinson back, will that help them on the defensive end? Or do they trade Mitchell Robinson to try to get some more depth? That's the big thing to watch with the New York Knicks this month in January. And they also have some tougher competition, starting with Oklahoma City on Friday night. They play them twice this month. They have the Hawks. They've got some other big games coming up this month. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they play as the schedule gets a little bit harder, but also a little bit more home-friendly for the Knickerbockers.
And speaking of learning something and about a tougher schedule, this is it for the Boston Celtics. They're on the road tonight at the Minnesota Timberwolves, and they got to play Houston. They got to play OKC. So this is a stretch for them coming up where we're going to learn a little bit. They're 4-point favorites tonight in Minnesota. Timberwolves are no pushover, though. Do you have an opinion on this game? Total 219.
Yeah, I got an opinion on this game. I'm intrigued to see, will Boston wake up? They've been 5-5 in their last 10 games. They've kind of been sleepwalking to it. And look, they're the defending champions. I think sometimes you get bored during a season, but this is a game that should wake them up. They're playing in Minneapolis. This is a good Timberwolves team. They've had some good wins. They've been up and down themselves, but lately looking a lot better. Julius Randle has been coming into form. I know there's some question marks around Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis heading in tonight, and that's why the spread is what it is. But I think the Celtics understand what this stretch is. So I like them on the road tonight as 4-point favorites. I think they do have the ability to get it done here against the Timberwolves. It's not going to be easy, but I think this will bring out the best in Jason Tatum. I think it'll also bring out the best in Jaylen Brown. They understand the level of competition they're going to be going up against some of these Western Conference opponents, and they have to bring it. I think it's a new year, some new competition. They might not be as bored as they were for the last couple of weeks, and I'm sure Joe Mazzulla is going to push them. So I like the Celtics in this one. I think it'll be a close game, but I like the Celtics to cover.
All right, speaking of another close spread tonight, we've got the Golden State Warriors, no strangers to close games all season long, against the Philadelphia 76ers. Philly fans feeling really good. Embiid has that big game, and then all of a sudden, nope, he's not going to play in the next game. So, I mean, that's the story I think that's going to go on all year with Philadelphia, is no matter how much they come back and get themselves out of that hole that they dug at the beginning of the season, Dexter, back-to-back nights, we're still not seeing Embiid. Do the Warriors win tonight without him?
I think the Warriors can win tonight without him at home. The thing about the Sixers is I think they're going to come out very motivated. They will have Embiid. They just had a tough loss in Sacramento. So you'd expect them to come out motivated. And before that loss in Sacramento, they were playing pretty well. They'd won 4 in a row. So it'll be very interesting to see how they come out. Now, this Warriors team been up and down a little bit lately. They're still finding their groove after a strong start. And I think it is, where do you get that scoring help to help out Stephen Curry? That's been the question with the Dubs all season long. Can they find that? They're a very interesting team to watch this month, because what will they do at the trade deadline? Will they be able to find that second star for Stephen Curry? Could it be Jimmy Butler? I don't know. The Warriors absolutely can win tonight. The Sixers have been shaky. Where's their confidence at? How hungry are the Sixers to try to climb out of that hole that you mentioned, Craig, which is not going to be easy. But I think having Embiid tonight helps a ton. They know they gave one away in Sacramento, and they're going to be looking to try to bounce back here in San Francisco. So I kind of lean to taking the Sixers. I might hit that Sixers money line tonight because I think they'll be motivated, and I think you can see a big game from Embiid.
All right, so we'll see Embiid back on the court tonight. Okay, so the Lakers are the 7th seed in the West. Blazers are not playing good basketball at all. They're one of the worst teams in the NBA. The total is 224.5 in this game, and LA are 9-point favorites going into this one. Is it just as simple as decent team versus one of the worst teams in the West?
Yeah, I think it's that. I think it's that simple, Craig. Sometimes it is that simple. You don't have to overthink this one in terms of the bet here. The Lakers should win this one pretty easily. And the man you see on your screen right now, Anthony Davis, since returning from injury, he's been in fantastic form. I looked at his over-under points and rebounds line at 37.5. I would hit the over in that. He's gone over that in 6 of his last 10 games. I think it's a really good play there, and I think this is a fantastic matchup for him to dominate against Portland's bigs that shouldn't really have much of an answer for him. So I like the Lakers in this one. They should take care of business. I think they've gotten better defensively with the addition of Dorian Finney-Smith. I don't know how much better the Lakers have gotten overall. They're not that far out of a top 4 seed. They're only 3 or 4 games out. So this is a game they know they have to win in what's a very tough West. But Portland, not a good team, very young team. Lakers should take care of business tonight.
All right, last thing, Dexter, they made the announcement that Jaden Ivey of the Pistons is going to be out with a broken leg. I know Detroit, over the last few years, had a really hard time. They seem to be, I don't know if turning the corner, but a much more competitive team. How bad does this injury hurt them moving forward?
Yeah, this hurts them because their team I've been watching a lot in the Eastern Conference, and they've been playing really hard on the first-year coach with them, Bernie Bickerstaff. And, they've been doing a really good job in how they've been playing. And I think that they're competitive. They wanted to be a playing team. This was a guy in Jaden Ivey who was starting to make leaps and strides and looked a lot more confident under BJ Bickerstaff than he did under the previous coach. So I think this is a big blow to this team that is still trying to find their identity. I did not see, Craig, how long he was going to be out. I just saw that Shams tweet before we came on. I didn't see how long he's going to be out, but it absolutely is a big blow for Detroit because it's a young team trying to find their identity, and he's a huge part of that young core. So best wishes to Jaden Ivey, and hopefully he can get back soon and help Detroit in the path they're trying to go, which is trying to get back to the playoffs.
All right. Dexter, great job with the curveball there. You can hit them all. Thanks again for coming on the show. Really appreciate it, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you, Craig. Thank you so much.
All right, check out Dexter over at the New York Post. We'll be back with Brady Kannon breaking down the slate in the NFL, which, depending on how you see it, is either the easiest slate of the week or the hardest slate of the week, because these lines certainly do not reflect right now the outcome and in terms of the players who are going to be on that field this weekend. We'll be right back.
There's a lot of bowl games. I love all of them. Even if you don't like bowl games, you got to love the Pop-Tarts Bowl and what it means for college football.
Who doesn't get excited for Pop-Tarts? But also, this is one of those where, Ben, I guess you could put your kids through college. Miami doesn't care about bowl games. They don't ever win those. Miami's a favorite. They usually go take the Iowa State Cyclones. Miami doesn't play any defense whatsoever, so you automatically just bang the total.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
50 points in a fourth quarter for the Atlanta Hawks. Like, what is going on? It's like circus numbers. What are we doing?
And we sound like two old heads complaining. It's a tough watch. It's a tough watch sometimes. I don't mind the shooting. I just know the numbers. Like, when you strictly look at it from the numbers in betting, it's getting really hard to bet.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
You basically predicted this, saying that if Texas, as expected, as nearly a 2-touchdown favorite, did beat Clemson, the odds were telling you they were only 10 cents behind Oregon entering the opening round.
I still feel that Oregon's one of the best teams in the country. You want to give me now from plus 350 to plus 480? I think it's great value. I think they match up very well against Ohio State.
College football today. Only on SportsGrid.
I don't like to toot my own horn, and I know that I'm setting myself up for probably disappointment later tonight, but I hope you were with us last week on the Final Five, because we almost swept the board. We had 2 out of 3 on the power play points with Reinhardt and Matthews. We hit the goal scorer line A. We hit the side with Washington. We hit the total with the over in Toronto and Buffalo. So we had a really good Final Five last week, and I'm hoping that we can now ride that wave.
Only on SportsGrid.
All right, thanks to Brady Kannon for filling in for me on New Year's Eve. I fell under what I would not recommend to anybody in the new year. Like, everyone has these resolutions and things that you want to achieve. Here's what you do not want to achieve. You do not want to get norovirus. Believe me, that is not something that you want. Take it from me. What you do want is to listen to Brady Kannon and his great podcast with James Salinas and Mike Pritchard, because they're coming down to the end of the line this season. Catch it exclusively here on SportsGrid and where you listen to all of your podcasts. Brady, thanks again for filling in last minute. Great job. And now we're back to some normalcy here. Thanks again.
Yeah, you bet. I know what you have to go through every morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. It was a great time, and thanks to the production crew for holding my hand all the way through. Yeah, anytime you need a lift, my friend, it's a great show. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, the football contest show, we're coming down the final week of the NFL regular season. So football contests all across the land, and specifically here in Las Vegas, will be decided this week. And week 18, the final week of the season, is always so difficult. These point spreads are way out of whack because of motivational factors and players sitting. And good news, you mentioned our team, Mike Pritchard, James Salinas, and myself, we do have a shot. The final 3-week mini contest, weeks 16, 17, and 18, is a contest within itself in the Westgate Super Contest. And we started out 4-0-1 in week 16, and then fell back a little bit, went 3-2 last week, which is not awful, but I think we have to have a 5-0 this week. And I think if we get a 5-0, we'll have a real chance of cashing. They pay out the top 3 places, first, second, third. So I think that we have a good chance to come in third place and split the pot there with a 5-0 week. But maybe, Craig, not a more difficult week of the entire season to pull off a 5-0.
Yeah, in my experience doing this and doing the contest is that this is one of the more easier weeks to get some free squares, because by the time Sunday comes and these lines are out on Wednesday when they lock, I mean, you're just, all of a sudden Saturday you're going to hear this guy's not playing, this guy's not playing, this team has decided not to play. So you can grab a couple of those, but the problem is, Brady, is everybody else is doing the same thing. So it feels like this is going to be a very successful week for a lot of people, but I have to believe that this is where the contrarian picks are going to have to come in to get you to that 5-0, because there's going to be a lot of people, I think, that are that. It is a difficult week to predict. But again, I think the lines are going to shift for the only time this season, 4 or 5 games between Wednesday and Saturday, 2 points, 3 points, 4 points. And you kind of got to think, I think, the opposite as to how some others are too, just to cash that.
It's interesting, and I think you make a great point. I think there will be some free bingo squares out there where you can pick up probably 2 or 3 wins, that are just kind of gimmies. But you have to go off the board with a couple, 3 other picks and just hope you get lucky and separate yourself from the field. Last week, in week 17, on another one of my contest teams, I think all 5 of our selections, we had a 4-0-1 week as well. So we were sitting there just a half point out of first place in the final 3-week mini. And we just kind of went with the line value, where the lines had moved in the live market versus where you were getting a lot of value in the contest. And we just played it straight, and when you're in the lead, you just try and hold serve, right? It didn't go well. We went 2 and 3. You had, some of these plays that looked like gimmies did not go that way in week 17. So we fell behind, and we're basically out of it at this point. But again, one team that I'm on, the football contest show, still with a live shot. And I agree with you, probably have to make 2 out of the 5 picks a little bit rogue.
Yeah, and Saturday is a good example of that. I'm really not sure how this is going to play out, but Baltimore, of course, is a really big favorite on Saturday. If they win, I don't know exactly what the motivation is for the Steelers going into their game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, we know the Bengals are supremely motivated. I suppose the reason why the Steelers would be motivated to win and why the line is what it is because the Steelers may not want to go to Baltimore and play the Ravens. Right. Maybe they want to go to Houston instead. But I'm not sure how Tomlin really feels about that, Brady. Like he may feel, I don't want to risk anything, my injuries, over going to Baltimore again. Maybe we'll do that. I mean, these coaches, we don't know what they're thinking half the time. That's just one example of many games that could get affected.
Well, if we know Tomlin, I don't think he wants anything but a supreme effort and probably ultimately a victory. He just seems wired that way. But the other thing is here, I don't know if he is worried too much about how he plays, but how about how his own team is playing? They've lost 3 in a row. I don't think he wants to go into the postseason having lost 4 straight. That's what means something to me for Mike Tomlin. He's got to right the ship here with his club that was rolling along so beautifully not that long ago. Now all of a sudden they've lost 3 straight. I think he wants to get a victory just to turn some positive mojo in the locker room there and head into the postseason on a positive note.
All right, let's go real quick to Circa Survivor. The people who got knocked out last week are never going to buy any Colts hats, shirts, jerseys, cleats,
or New York Giants
ever again. The Giants are just doing what they're told, but the Colts, what a disaster, man. I mean, how many times we get to the end of the season and the Colts just need one win to either stay in it or make the playoffs, and they don't get it? But 16 entries out on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that took out nearly half the field, only 18 entries remaining for the final week. And Craig, you talked about it. A lot of free bingo squares this week. I mean, you've got some massive favorites that you expect are going to win the game outright. I think you're going to end up with probably somewhere in between, 12 and 16 people winning Circa Survivor and chopping this pool up, 14. All year long, we've been talking about 14.2 million. I think what it's going to turn out is about, $500,000 to $800,000 that these people are winning. And obviously that's not chump change, but a far cry from 14 million that we've been looking at all season. I think they're going to chop this up between a lot of different people.
Yeah, no, I think so too, but that could mean $1 million a person, which is not bad.
Not too bad. And these guys have all been hedging and probably monetizing all the way through here for the last few 3 or 4 weeks.
I would hope. All right, real quick, Century first golf tournament, Brady, golf.com. Are you posting your picks there too, or are you going to give us a couple?
Yeah, they're up at golf.com. They'll tee off in Kapalua, Maui in about an hour. I took Hideki Matsuyama, Eric Cole, JT Poston, and Ben On. See if we can get it done at Kapalua.
I'm waiting for a text. I can't remember all that. Send that over to me, please. Brady, thanks again. See you soon.
Glad you're well, buddy.
Thanks.
There's a lot of bowl games. I love all of them. Even if you don't like bowl games, you got to love the Pop-Tarts Bowl and what it means for college football.
Who doesn't get excited for Pop-Tarts? But also, this is one of those where, Ben, I guess you could put your kids through college. Miami doesn't care about bowl games. They don't ever win those. Miami's a favorite. They usually go take the Iowa State Cyclones. Miami doesn't play any defense whatsoever, so you automatically just bang the total.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
50 points in a fourth quarter for the Atlanta Hawks. Like, what is going on? It's like circus numbers. What are we doing?
And we sound like two old heads complaining. It's a tough watch. It's a tough watch sometimes. I don't mind the shooting. I just know the numbers. Like, when you strictly look at it from the numbers in betting, it's getting really hard to bet.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
You basically predicted this, saying that if Texas, as expected, as nearly a 2-touchdown favorite, did beat Clemson, the odds were telling you they were only 10 cents behind Oregon entering the opening round.
I still feel that Oregon's one of the best teams in the country. You want to give me now from plus 350 to plus 480? I think it's great value. I think they match up very well against Ohio State.
College football today, only on SportsGrid.
I don't like to toot my own horn, and I know that I'm setting myself up for probably disappointment later tonight, but I hope you were with us last week on the Final Five, because we almost swept the board. We had 2 out of 3 on the power play points with Reinhardt and Matthews. We hit the goal scorer line A. We hit the side with Washington. We hit the total with the over in Toronto and Buffalo. So we had a really good Final Five last week, and I'm hoping that we can now ride that wave.
Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Just a quick reminder for those of you who missed all the events yesterday of the tragic murders of many people in New Orleans. They moved the Sugar Bowl to 4 o'clock Eastern today. So Scott Farrell has you covered 3 o'clock Eastern. Make sure you catch all of his coverage of that game. All right, we end the show with a recap of one of the greatest college football performances we've ever seen in a game. An NBA player also plays in the G League as well. and a new dog roaming the sidelines in college football. Yes, a dog. It's time now for some last licks. Yeah, this was one of the best performances I've ever seen from any individual on a college football field, let alone in one of the biggest games of the season. For Arizona State, this guy, Cam Skattebo, was unstoppable. And not only was he unstoppable, if you didn't see it, there was a point in the game where he had to come out of the game, get an IV, and was throwing up on the sidelines. I thought this guy was cooked. And then he came back to run for a touchdown, throw a touchdown, and they couldn't even bring this guy down. It was a performance to watch. And I said it earlier in the show, I don't think this is going to make him a first-round pick. But if anybody got more draft stock than this guy, I don't know. This guy reminds me of Mike Allstott, who I covered when he played with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 30 carries, 143 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, 8 catches, 99 yards, and a 42-yard passing touchdown. Now, I understand Vince Young was awesome in the Rose Bowl. There's been a lot of players who have had these epic performances, and we all live as prisoners of the moment with this stuff. But I got to say, in recent memory, I have not seen anybody do anything like this. And for somebody who has been sitting in bed for the last few days, it was an exciting game to watch. I can tell you everything going on in sports the last few days because I was so sick. Okay, now, this is one thing I did not know. Tyler Kolek, I know Tyler Kolek as a former baseball player who played for the Marlins once upon a time in the minor leagues, first-round pick. There's also a Tyler Kolek that plays for the New York Knicks, who you are probably all that more familiar with than I am. But in the G League on Wednesday afternoon, he had 36 points, 11 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, and 1 block. And he's on the Knicks, right? So why do I bring this up? Who cares, right? G League? Well, he also played a second game. And he played a doubleheader in basketball? I got to check and see if this has happened before. My guess it is. But he had the game-winning free throw in overtime of that game. And then he played for the Knicks, and he ended up playing 12 minutes last night against the Utah Jazz. The only problem with all of this is that, according to Frank, a lot of people can't watch it because there's some sort of argument as far as the streaming or watching these games. I don't know exactly what it means because I don't live in New York. But either way, what an impressive performance. I mean, back-to-back performances that we could talk about yesterday. 2 basketball games played for this guy, Tyler Kolek, yesterday. All right, the director of Snuggles, who is that? And now in all of college football, you may remember Kirk Herbstreit, the great college football analyst on TV, who does many of the best college football games in the land and also does Amazon Prime on Thursday night in the NFL, also had a dog that passed away this year named Ben that a lot of people used to basically come and love during the games. He was a very big figure in all of college football. Kirk Herbstreit apparently has a new dog, and his name is Peter Herbstreit. I believe he made his debut for the first time this weekend. And he is, I guess on his credential, I saw this yesterday, he is the director of Snuggles. There it is. You can't really read it, but that's what it says. He's a director of Snuggles in all of college football. So I'm glad to see that that Ben, got his due, and now we get to watch a new pup run around college football fields, maybe Thursday Night Football too, as we move forward. All right, that will do it for the show. Great to be back with you here, by the way. We got another fun show for you tomorrow, as I'll be back with you at 11 a.m. Eastern. We'll talk more bull riding as well. We got another special guest here in the house, so make sure you stay tuned to that. And also with this brand new year, as Brady just mentioned, the very first golf tournament is going on this weekend. We have a ton of new technology and a lot of new programming coming your way that promotes the PGA Tour and PGA Tour sports betting. If you want to learn more about that, just download the SportsGrid app. You could take out your phone and scan it right there. It's available for iOS and Android. It is the SportsGrid app and gives you all the information that you could ever want on all of our shows here at SportsGrid, whether it's NewsWire or Gabe or all of our Pro Football Today or college football coverage. And I'm sure pretty soon we'll be making the announcement about the upcoming Super Bowl, which is in New Orleans. I think I saw Gabe post that he is headed there, so it'll be great to see him out there as well. Thanks again to Luke, our director, and Frank, our producer, and thanks to Brady Kannon for coming on the show, and all of our great guests, and of course Dexter Henry and Austin from Pro Bull Riding, which, by the way, you could buy tickets this weekend over at Madison Square Garden. Make sure you go check those guys out. They put their life on the line literally every single time they're riding that bull. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you Friday morning for our next edition of NewsWire.